Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. Today I'm going to be talking about the Switch 2 some more, because I put out a video a couple days ago on Switch 2 news, and the CEO of Nintendo just put out a tweet talking about how the Nintendo Switch 2 will be backwards compatible with Nintendo Switch software. Which is a crazy thing to just tweet out, especially right after confirming that they're not going to be talking about the release date yet. They're going to be announcing the Switch sometime by March of 2025. And then they just drop a bomb like, oh, but the next console will be backward compatible with the Switch. Kind of a crazy thing. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and I want to talk about what I think Nintendo's doing here, what their plan for the future here with the Nintendo Switch 2. So they again called it a successor to the Nintendo Switch. I think it's very obvious that Nintendo's keeping the hybrid handheld thing as their main console. They're not going back to a home console and a portable console. I think it's a really smart move. Their portable consoles have always been their best-selling consoles. The Wii got close to like eclipsing things like the Game Boy and the Nintendo DS. It at least got the closest a home console has seen so far, but their portable consoles have clearly been killer, and the hybrid design of the Switch, having a home console and a mobile console in one, is clearly a genius idea. So many people have copied that since, and it's on track to become the best-selling console of all time. But again, this is a weird thing for Nintendo to just tweet out saying that it's going to be backward compatible with Switch games. It did not specifically say physical software. I would assume that's what he means, but I think the confirmation is guaranteed to be digital. It talks about the Nintendo Switch Online library being compatible with the Switch successor, but we can assume that physical cartridges will also be backward compatible. I don't know why they wouldn't be if he's just saying a blanket statement like that. So should be, but if it ends up being that the physical cartridges are not backward compatible, that would be really bad. But the assumption is that they're going to be using a similar cartridge for the Switch 2. It's like a newer design where it can hold way more data and it's more cost efficient. So they'll probably be like the same size cartridge, but they can do some other stuff. So you can put the Switch 1 cartridges in there, no problem. Maybe they'll be a bit thicker, but it still supports the Switch 1 cartridge, so that way you can't put it in the Switch 2 cartridges in the original Switch. Whatever that entails, we're going to have backward compatibility. Other things that I've seen in the past talk about how the Switch Joy-Cons will also be compatible with the Switch 2. They won't be able to slide them on since there is the talk about the magnetic Switch controllers for the Switch 2, but they will be pairable with the Switch 2, which is really nice. If you want to get rid of your old Switch, you want to get rid of some of your old stuff, but you want to keep your controllers, now you don't have to invest in a bunch of new Joy-Cons and stuff. I think that's a very nice thing. So what I think Nintendo is doing here, I think that they are being very careful about their positioning. They have been in this position before with the Nintendo Wii, absolutely smoking the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox One. By the end of the generation, they had started to catch up, but they were still like tens of millions of console sales behind the Nintendo Wii. That's how dominant the Wii was, despite being a very underpowered console, despite being standard definition graphics when HD was the new thing, because they made the best software. And then they kind of spoiled it all with the Nintendo Wii U because of, bad marketing, a weird looking tablet thing. I think they just missed the mark. I think they could have been very successful with the Wii U, but they just missed it. And so I think they're being very careful this time around. I think they're waiting until they have the supply that they need so that everybody can experience it day one. They're making sure that it's probably as bug-free as possible with new controllers not having any issues, because stick drift was such a big problem. I even sent in my Joy-Cons to get them fixed, and they had to do it for free because that was part of like a big deal that they had to do, because that like something to do with violating consumers and like the product agreements and whatever. So I got my Switch Joy-Cons fixed for free. I'm sure that they're working tirelessly to make sure that doesn't happen again. But I also think that they're in an incredible position here with Microsoft really being like pretty far behind in the console race, if you can even call it that anymore. They're really far behind in sales. They don't have nearly as much market share. Not many people are buying the Xbox compared to the PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch. So they're really far behind. They don't really have the means to compete in the console market. They're doing much better in the software market with Game Pass and putting out some pretty good games as of late. And they've got some more things on the docket. PlayStation is in a good position, but they're squandering it more and more. They've sold way more than the Xbox has, but they're behind because they don't put out consistent software. People are getting really upset. The PlayStation 5 Pro is an absolute disaster. It doesn't like give you a ton of new benefits. It's incredibly expensive. At that point, you might as well be buying a PC. So Sony is fumbling. their lead right now. Xbox is still lagging behind, and Nintendo Switch is absolutely destroying them in the marketplace. And they're in a position where Nintendo can become the new player, like the dominant player in the space. Despite being like better sellers in terms of consoles, Nintendo doesn't really compete with PlayStation or Microsoft. They're content doing their own thing. They're like, you know what? Underpowered console, fantastic games. We know how to optimize them, get like file sizes really compressed and everything, so we don't have to worry about competing with PlayStation and Microsoft because we have an interesting and superior product. Well, now with everything pointing to the Switch 2 being a more iterative console and not that innovative, because they probably don't need to be, I think they want to be as careful as possible so that they keep their position and establish themselves as the head player in the game space. Probably coming out the gate with lots of exclusives at launch. I'm guessing they're going to have several killer apps with several more slated right down the line, so that way they have more consistency than something like PlayStation has or Xbox has. I think they want to be the player that says, hey, just come play all of your games on the Switch, or two, or as many as you possibly can here. I'm guessing they're garnering third-party support, probably making lots of deals, and I think they want to just take their time to position themselves to be the new player. Combine that with rumors of the Switch 2 being like a PlayStation 4, even PlayStation 4 Pro style of graphics here. I think they're really wanting to shoot for being as accessible as possible to newer games. I think that'll make it a lot easier for third-party developers to develop for the console if they don't have to like pare down their games so much. They likely will just have to pare them down a little bit because the newer consoles are definitely still going to be more powerful, but there's not that big of a gap between the PlayStation 4 Pro and like say the PlayStation 5. So I think this is a very good position for Nintendo. Whether they'll capitalize on it or not is still to be seen. I think the Switch 2 will do very well regardless, just because it's going to be more of the same, more of what people already love about the Nintendo Switch, but I think they want to make sure they give as much value as possible at launch so they don't make any mistakes that PlayStation has with the PlayStation 5 or Xbox with the Xbox Series X and S. I think they just want to say, hey, we want you to game on this machine and we're going to give you the best value for it as well. Because I'm sure for a lot of people it'll be, why don't I just stick with this Nintendo Switch instead of upgrading the Nintendo Switch 2 like people did with the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. I think Nintendo is making lots of moves to make sure that it is worth our time. So that's what I think. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.